So first of all, I want to share just a little story. So we all know a week and a half roughly ago, Plain Dealer puts out the report cards from the state. And we all, if we're still getting a Plain Dealer, we all pick it up and we're looking, where are we? Oh, flip over below the fold. That's the important part, right below the fold. I went to block parties, I think it was 9 or 10 that weekend. The number one question, including the gentleman on Cortland, who went in his back pocket and pulled out that insert from the Plain Dealer, said, "What's up with this?" as he's waving it in my head at me. We know our community strives and thrives and attracts because of the quality of our schools. In the modern day, people are doing internet searches, not calling up friends, not getting first-hand opinions, and starting to make decisions about where do I move. Frequently, I'm out at Progressive, I'm hearing places like Chagrin Falls and Hudson and other places. Why? Well, gosh, look at those schools, they're wonderful. Now, that's not the whole story, but it is part of the story. So should we strive to make sure our children are doing as best they can? Yes, of course we should. Who's going to disagree with that? Are we close? We're actually pretty close. And I think there's some work going on right now over in the admin building that is putting together part of the story that says, we just need a few more to make it. Now, are there opportunities to help many, many more get better? Yes. We've cited, and I think many of the people in this room know our community has changed, which creates new challenges, whether it's a large population that has special needs that use, rightly so, more resources, or socioeconomic challenges that lead us to have students who are in and out of the district at a higher rate. Those are realities we need to work through. Those are the cards we are being dealt. So we need to make sure our education system does deliver excellence for them. I'll pause there.
You can download a ton of data about these state report cards on the state website, and I have done it, and I've gotten through a lot of it. I haven't gotten through all of it. But there's a couple of things that are worth noting. And these state, and by the way, there's two parts to this answer. So the first part is kind of, it's important for us to understand what we're looking at. The best predictor of how kids do on these state tests that we have is family income. And we can argue about what's wrong with that picture, but that's the reality. We do have 30% of our students who are free and reduced lunch. Chagrin Falls has 3% who are free and reduced lunch. If you disaggregate, you can pull this data down, look at it. If you look at how our kids who are not free and reduced lunch are doing on these state tests compared to kids who are not free and reduced lunch in other districts, we are at the very top in Cuyahoga County. We actually beat out Chagrin Falls. What we're dealing with is we have a lot of students, and a story I'll tell you is I was sitting with the assistant principal of the high school a couple years ago talking about a student who they had so much trouble getting him to show up for school that they finally had to send home a letter saying, you're going to be expelled if you don't show up. And that finally got the mother to come. And the reason it took that to get the mother to come was because this was a mother with 3 jobs. And her 9th grader who wasn't coming to school was the oldest of 4 siblings. And he was responsible for getting the other 3 off to school every morning before he got off to himself. And he had fallen in with a crowd of kids and was struggling with his responsibilities, and he wasn't making it. And this was a fiercely proud parent. 3 jobs, so she could live in Shaker Heights or her kids could go to the Shaker schools. And the painful thing to tell her is, that's only the beginning. And if you can't do it all yourself, you need to ask for help. And the school ended up, social work, finding out there's a sister, there's a mother, can we get them involved? Let's get you help. And the reality is we have a lot of kids like that. And are their test scores what we want them to be? No. And I've been very clear about my desire to, and I think an important thing that's free, is to do a better job of explicitly explaining to students and parents and guardians what's expected. When a teacher says, you know, you need to write better, you know, my kids can come home to their former legal writing instructor mother who gets what that means. But there are kids in that classroom who have nobody who can help explain that if the teacher isn't explaining what exactly does that mean. And I think IB is giving us a vehicle for doing this, but we've got to push it through. So I think we can do better. I think what we have to do is do a better job of explaining these report card issues to folks. People, because what it comes down to is, and by the way, when we did the appreciative inquiry interviews, we talked to 900 families. The people we talked to whose kids are those struggling kids will tell you these schools are far better for their kids than the schools they came from. So, you know, I am in the uncomfortable position of telling them, yeah, but your kid's still not doing as well as I think he or she should be doing. And that's a tough conversation, and we need to have it, and we need to continue to look for cost-effective ways to get the supports out there. But, you know, we need to be really careful about falling for that rating conversation. The other thing I'll tell you is that the tests are all changing in 2014. And the way they're changing is going to focus very much on the very kinds of thinking skills that we're building in the IB program. So I would argue that, you know, on a number of levels, we're working on this issue. And am I happy as a board member? No, but I am not going to, you know, accept, and I spend a lot of time at these block parties too, helping people understand the why. And when they hear it, they get it. And I think that we need to do a better job getting the story out.
We have time for one more question, and we're going to max out on our time for one short question. Anyone?
I must sound ignorant, but I don't know what the ID program is. Could you tell us?
Yes, and I think Ruben Harris said it right when he said, you know, the PR has not been what it could be, because in some people's minds, International Baccalaureate was created in the 1960s. It's a Geneva-based organization focused on what should be global standards for secondary education. And if you want to go to a foreign university and you read what they have to say about American student transcripts, it's very fuzzy. But then you read what it says about IB and they say, oh, well, if you've got this in IB, then you're in. IB is an international standard, and a lot of American colleges are very interested in it as well. It's a more holistic, global, you know, oriented curriculum. Much more emphasis on writing and projects and creative and constructive assessment rather than multiple choice. You know, one sort of headline indicator that the history course isn't United States history, it's history of the Americans. You know, so it gives you a sense of kind of where we're going. Language is essential. We've got Chinese in the elementary schools now. It's part of the IB effort. It's related to the IB effort. We've got to prepare our kids for global society. We've got to get them thinking and writing and creating in more authentic ways. And I've already heard from students and parents how it's started to change the kinds of things that are going on in the classroom. But most importantly to me, there's an external group that's got expectations about teacher professional development and curriculum development. So we've kind of signed ourselves on to this external group that's going to help us stay honest about the implementation. I was talking to a teacher who said, you know, this is the best implemented effort of my career so far in the Shaker schools. And that to me alone tells me that we're on to something important.
One more question.
One more question.
We didn't even answer that.
Well, I thought it was just a definition that she wanted, but
Oh, I'm sorry.
was that, are you satisfied that you understand what the answer was?
Well, I'm getting the picture.
Okay. Does that need to be elaborated on by either candidate?
Well, just one sentence.
One
One sentence I would want to add is that the IB program, if properly implemented, has the potential to positively impact those kids in the middle and those kids who are enduring a significant racial achievement gap. Has the potential to raise all those parties up and also the kids at the very top of the scoring system, it also has a potential to raise their outcomes up also. And we don't have to reinvent the wheel for all of this stuff. It's already been done. 20 years ago when I started to address the achievement gap, we were just doing research and trying to find out what the causes were and how to make those changes. Now we have schools who have found ways to close those gaps and find success. And ID is one of the tools, but there are many other tools that are being used.
Thank you. Short question, John?
Yes, maybe with a couple parts.
John, please. We're running out of time, John.
Do you believe in having summer school? My understanding is that we do not have much of a program at the present time. And I think that you have to ask yourself, how are you going to bring up people who are lagging in their particular grade without something like summer school to help them not only fall further behind, but make up some ground. So could you address that question?
And due to time, we just need very, 30-second answers. Thank you.
So the real quick answer is, we need processes, we need maybe summer school to help those who need more help, eliminate some of that learning lapse that happens in the summer months. Actually, there are some programs going on, they're being piloted. I've heard of a few this summer that have been going on, where it's actually educational environments. We've also had computer labs open. Some folks got, there were grants to go to camps. So things to fill in blanks when they would otherwise potentially be home watching TV.
I do think summer school is an important part of the repertoire of what I would call whatever it takes. Once we clearly define expectations, whatever it takes. The reality is resources right now. Finding the incremental dollars to do anything more robust than what we already have, which is something. Ruben actually was involved in an organization a number of years ago and helped get summer school going in the system through kind of efforts in the community. And I think we need to revive and do more of that kind of thing, because kids do need more time on task, no question.
The short answer would be yes. But how do you pay for it? How is it structured? Are we effectively using the rest of the school year to minimize the need for summer school? There are some schools who are effectively closing the gap. Kids who are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, within 1 year, 2 year, bringing them up to speed and ahead of grade level without summer school. So they're using a little bit longer school day, disciplined, structured course instruction with teachers knowing exactly what they're going to do for almost every minute of the day. So they're not guessing what they're going to do, figuring out what they're going to do. They know in advance exactly what their goal is for that particular day. So yes, if we find a way to pay for it, I'd be all for it if we can show that it's truly effective.
Thank you very much.